Hello and welcome to How Do You Brew? My name is Gideon from 00DIY, and with me today is the wonderful Mr. Marcus Gooda. How you doing, Marcus?
Good, thank you very much. Bit tired, but all these lockdown mornings kind of blur into one. So 11 a.m. is an early start.
Yeah, totally. Are you working from home at the moment?
I am. This is actually my setup. I'm teaching guitar and bass and piano online in the absence of live shows and live gigging and stuff like that. So this is my room divider, which someone mentioned looks like a bit of a church confessional booth. And the whiteboard behind me. So yeah, this is my little corner.
Nice. Marcus, you play in a band called the Yacht Club, which I came to see you play somewhere in London, which escapes me. It was your launch show, I think, for your kind of for your last. It was 2019.
Seabright Arms.
Yes, it was the Seabright Arms. Yeah, and but I think I've been aware of your band since probably 2014, 2015, something like that. Just through like Facebook groups and stuff. So it's really cool to have you on the pod. So thank you.
Thank you so much for listening for so long as well, man. Thank you.
Am I right in saying that or thinking that the Yacht Club is a Arrested Development reference?
It is. Yes, I'm glad you got it. Yeah, it's a really, really niche reference. But when I decided to do this, the guy playing bass at the time, one of my really close friends, Giles, he got me into Arrested Development, and we were just like watching it one evening, and he said, call the band the Yacht Club. The Yacht Club. I was like, yeah, definitely. I think it's quite a funny play on words as well, because I think when people hear the Yacht Club, they think of like loads of money, party time, and like extravagant lifestyle, and you go on the Instagram hashtag the Yacht Club and it's all mental, and then we are just like twiddling, being really sad, doing our thing, and obviously not living that lifestyle at all.
Lowly DIY emo life. Are you look, this is How Do You Brew? We talk about I'm gonna say hot drinks rather than coffee, but just because I keep getting guests on that actually don't drink coffee at all, and that's fine. I'm a coffee drinker. Do you drink coffee? Is that your go-to?
My everyday drink is tea.
Okay.
And I have like 6 or 7 cups a day because I'm a tea fiend. But I always find like mentally, I like to have a cup of tea when I start a new task. So if I'm starting a new lesson, I'll have a fresh cup of tea. If I'm going to track demos, I'll have a fresh cup of tea. If I'm going to clean the house, I'll have a fresh cup of tea ready. So any like daily task, I have a fresh tea set to go. But if I'm out and about teaching, like or on tour or just out of the house, it's always coffee. In the studio, it's always coffee. It's almost like tea is my like homey comfort drink.
Okay.
But coffee is the go time we're doing shit drink.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about tea first. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Trev, who I had on in week 2, he is all about like bag tea. Doesn't do like loose leaf for any of that stuff. He's like he's sort of like a Yorkshire Gold man. Is that what talk about leaves and bags with me?
Cool. So I did try going over to leaf. I'm a fully bag man. I'm a PG Tips guy, 100% biodegradable. But I tried the loose leaf thing as well, and it just didn't work for me. I had so many different it almost looks like a flail mace. Puts it into the water to brew. And then I had like one which you just had like tongs. And again, but I don't know. It just didn't have the same kick for me.
Yeah. So what about
fully bag?
So and what about just like in the cup? Because I've been around lots of people who are like tea party, and for me it tastes bad. It's not strong enough and tastes bad. So like, are you just bagging a cup, or are you a pot or?
No, I'm typically bag and cup man. However, again, with the loose leaf experiments, shall we say, I did do the teapot. I do have a teapot.
Okay.
And it occasionally comes out, like if me and my girlfriend are doing something together, and or like doing some work in the living room, needs to have a constant supply going. But if it's not that, then she's a coffee drinker way more than a tea drinker. She doesn't drink like English tea. She does fruit teas.
Ugh.
So we always have a cafetiere on the go or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of fruit teas either. I think it's because I'm getting older, but I've just started to appreciate the nighttime hot drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
The nighttime hot drink or the nighttime hot tea. My sister sent me some because I've had trouble sleeping recently. Of just everything going on in the world, but there's like
Yeah.
a pucker tea nighttime blend. And I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what? I'll try it out. And it really did help.
Yeah.
I think it's just a placebo effect, or just hot drinks before bed is a good idea.
Yeah. I do a decaf Earl Grey before bed sometimes.
Oh,
Like,
can't get on with Earl Grey.
Can you not? Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Last time I had an Earl Grey was because I live with other people, and went out to Ellie's grandparents when we were allowed to visit people. And
Back
we
in the
got very
day.
drunk because they kept poisoning us, topping up our drinks. So I got home. We were already very, very hungover. Ellie was being sick in the toilet. I went into the kitchen. I was like, a cup of tea will sort me out. Didn't have any tea bags. So I thought, all right, I'll just borrow my housemate's tea, put that in. Didn't realize it was Earl Grey. Took a big, big gulp, thinking, you know what? It's going to sort me out. And it was completely opposite. No.
So it's
In the
kind of
toilet.
marred the experience for life, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bit too perfumey.
Okay.
I find it quite perfumey.
I used to find it kind of smoky, like when I was younger. Like I
Oh.
wasn't, but I like it now. Okay, well, so that's tea. That's tea. So when you do drink coffee, like, do you have like a method or like somewhere you go or like beans that you like to buy, or are you just like
Definitely
talk coffee?
moved away from instant ground. Before, I didn't really care. Before, like, it was not like a taste or savoring experience. It was I need to wake up drink.
Yeah,
Or
sure.
like I need to inject some lightning into my vein drink. And
Yeah.
now I've moved away from the instant ground crystal stuff,
Good plan.
Yeah. And now it's more into like the really fine cafetiere stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, my girlfriend who I live with, she's like really into brewing coffee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we get some nice high stuff. I'm pretty clueless. For me, with coffee, it's either I take it completely jet black with 2 sugars, so like the inkiest, darkest, strongest thing you can imagine, or the complete opposite, lattes. Okay. So when I'm out and about, like if we go on tour or just driving, I'll always grab a latte. But for some reason, whenever I go to students' houses, well, that's what I used to do before lockdown happened. I was living in London, traveling to students' houses to teach guitar. I'd always ask for black coffee. Black coffee, 2 sugars.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would be the like Tesco value beans, and you could tell. And it would just be like, thank you. But yeah, water boiled is coffee spoiled. Never put boiling water on your coffee. It's going to burn it. Ellie, my girlfriend Ellie's worked in hospitality before, and absolutely is like hates it when people don't clean their coffee machines properly. Like she worked in one place, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we've never cleaned it before, but we just run it through every time someone wants a coffee." So you just end up with burnt shit every time. But I used to live with. Sorry, carry on.
No, you go.
I used to live with someone in like my first year of uni who was like a complete coffee nut, and used to have beans on the windowsill, and would be able to tell the weather depending on like how much moisture was in the beans.
Are you sure they weren't just having you on, just like looking out the window?
No, he was like,
I think it's gonna rain today.
He was like borderline like psychotic on it.
Okay.
And like had a temperature for boiling the water, like a thermometer, and there was another guy I met on tour, like he was a TM for another band we were supporting, who had like a chemistry set, and it was like 93-degree water, and it has to be distilled through this kind of filter, this particular bean, at this time of day, otherwise it won't work. And I was just like, cool. That's fine. Like everyone has their interests. But
See, that's the kind of guy that I would be friends with, because I can be particular about the temperature of water and whatnot. Although although I've said it before, that someone I was talking to was saying that they saw on a podcast, like a YouTube guy was like saying that actually you can't reburn coffee because of like because it's already been roasted, and I don't know. Just take that, see what Ellie thinks of that.
yeah.
But I was surprised about that too. But there you go. Marcus, let's talk music. I'm just looking at my notes. I put a bunch of questions to you, and I try and ask everyone the same thing.
Mhm.
So the first question I want to ask you is: have you got a record that changed your life or is significant to you? I think someone said, "Oh, it's a big question, like changed my life." I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
well, just a record that is like important, like impacted you in a significant way."
Yeah, I think so there's two that kind of immediately spring to mind. One is August and Everything After by Counting Crows.
Okay.
My dad used to play that, and it was like Counting Crows' best hits. But yeah, greatest hits aren't really viable album choices. So that was the one. That got me introduced me to emotional songwriting and how
Yeah.
like it's totally fine to feel sad
Yeah.
or feel like intense emotion in music, because before, like, I guess growing up as like a teenage boy, it's like any sign of weakness or emotion is like, oh, you're not a man,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't know, just driving around listening to Counting Crows, pretty incredible lyrics, and pretty on the nose with a lot of it. So that's one that kind of opened a lot of doors for me from like a songwriting perspective, and just like I'm allowed to feel these things,
Sure. Yeah.
which is great. And then another one was 2010, I think it was, or 2009. Yeah, 2010. Someone I was at a gig with, or was like music college or something, came up to me and was like, "Have you ever heard of Blackfish?"
Okay.
And then that changed my life forever, because Blackfish, I don't know if you know who they are. They were just like a one of the Big Scary Monsters era math rock bands.
Okay.
Called themselves Death Pop, I think, which was great. Very aggressive, two vocals, very noodly. And then from that, I discovered Meet Me in St. Louis, and from that I
Yep.
discovered Color, and from Color I discovered This Town Needs Guns.
Yeah.
So like from that interaction of, have you ever heard of Blackfish? It just kind of went
Sure. Yeah.
and exploded everything, and then I just haven't really looked back since. But I think the album that did it for me, like everybody else under the sun, sort of in this circle, was probably Animals, TTNG. Like, what can I say about that record that hasn't been said already? Really,
You are
it's
the
not.
third person to talk about TTNG and Meet Me in St. Louis. So, but say whatever you want. That's cool.
Yeah, it's like, I know it's not a perfect album. There's not much like production elements and stuff like that, and they definitely have their flaws. But as a part of like a formative opening the door for everything that's come since, that was definitely the one. So yeah, Counting Crows and This Town Needs Guns.
Great. Well, I and Blackfish
Yes.
was your
Yeah. Well,
cool.
not to. I mean, I don't really listen to that record. I can just pinpoint that as a moment in time where,
Right.
like, I think the EP is better than the album.
Okay.
But but it's just one of those moments where, from that single conversation, it's like very easy to trace what happens next in my like musical life. So yeah, that was the catalyst for sure.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm gonna check out that Blackfish record, because I think that's probably the first time, and the Counting Crows one, because I think it's the first time I've not heard of either of the records that they've talked about. Great. Okay, so the next question I want to ask you then is a gig that changed your life. I don't know. It could be one that you played or just one that you went to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as absolutely cliche as it sounds, like a gig that changed your life, like and it might sound a bit self-relating, so sorry, but that album launch show was one of the best nights of my life. Just like there was a full room. We hadn't really done anything as a band for a long time. We'd gone through so many lineup issues, and writing that album was so difficult because of everything
Are you
that
talking about
surrounded
the
it.
show at the Seabright?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And it was just to hear people singing the songs back, to see a full room, to see everyone there, it was just kind of like, wow, we've actually provided something here. We've actually, like, the demoing in the bedroom and pouring our finances into it has kind of not been for nothing. But visually, like, attending a gig, I should say, not visually. What am I about? Yeah, attending a gig. I think it might be City in Colour, 2011. I think it was. Saw him at the Royal Albert Hall. City in Colour. So Dallas Green is my favorite musician of all time.
Right.
And I'm like constantly ripping him off. But I've got like Alexis on Fire tattoos. I've got City in Colour tattoos. He's just everything that I want to be, really. Just a bit more twinkly version, I guess. But he's just excellent, and I saw him in 2011. He did a mixture of like full band City in Colour stuff and solo things, and then recently, I saw him. My last gig that I ever saw, actually, since lockdown, was 2020, February 2020, at the where was it? It was in London, Palladium, I think. And it was just one of those moments where it's just a spiritual experience. So yeah, that was definitely the first City in Colour in 2011 was just like oh my god, nothing can ever beat this. But I think watching him play that 2011 show inspired me to, or why it was life changing was that inspired me to then write my own songs for myself, which then gave birth to the Yacht Club.
Yeah.
So without that show, there would be no Yacht Club.
Right. Pretty significant then. Yeah. And am I right? Because I've talked about City in Colour a little bit before, and I really listened to that first album he did like a lot. But is it Pink or Lady Gaga that he like had a project with?
Yeah, it's called You and Me.
That just totally, when I saw that, it just totally just blew my mind. I was like, not what City in Colour, but he's like this like indie guy, and Pink's like part, all those songs that she had in the early 2000s about that was like chart topping. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to see kind of, I guess, people's diversity and stuff. But I mean, are you a fan of that project?
I haven't given it too much time, to be honest. I heard a few songs and I thought, this is good. I don't dislike it. It's just the staying power. I think they got together and wrote a few songs, and recorded those songs they wrote, and I think there are better songs in his discography. Not that it's an unpleasant listen, like it's a nice listen, but I just haven't revisited it too much.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, thank you. That sounds like really, really great few gigs that you talked about there. Can you now talk about the worst gig that you ever went to?
It sounds really unfair. No, okay. So one of the worst gigs I've ever been to was probably, I can't remember what night it was. It was like an Enemy Discovery night or something. Okay. And this is when I just started sofa surfing around London. Like I first came to London like 2009, 2010, with nowhere to stay really, apart from like people's sofas and like occasionally a crappy guest house, like those £10 a night, £5 a night things. But I would just go to jam nights, meet people, stay on the sofa. And anyway, someone I met, we went to a like indie discovery night, and oh my god, it was just like the worst. It was everything wrong with the music industry in like 2010, where there was that like landfill indie movement.
Tell me about that, because I'm not familiar with that phrase. What does landfill indie mean? Sorry.
Yeah. So in like the mid to late 2000s, I think it was because of the rise of bands like Arctic Monkeys and the Strokes and bands like that.
Yeah.
Everyone in the music industry was gunning for the next one of those. And this is of like no slight to any of those bands that came out of that scene. Because I know a lot of them are still going, but bands like Pigeon Detectives, One Night Only, stuff like that. If you're a fan, or people listening, if they're fans of them, there's no slight to those bands. It's just they don't have the staying power, or they haven't hit the heights that Arctic Monkeys have.
Sure.
And everyone was gunning for these bands. There was loads of industry hype, and it's just like, you have to play like this kind of music to get on a bill and X, Y, and Z. And I just went to one of these bands, and you could tell they were like fresh out of, I guess, fresh into uni, and it was like their first uni bands or something, and they were
Yeah.
clearly not writing songs for the joy or craft of writing songs, but to capitalize on the songs. And it was like £6 a beer. It was like the beers were in just like tiny plastic cups. It was really far away from where I was staying, and just the bands were awful. And I just remember being there, like I was only like 17, 18 at the time, just standing there with my really overpriced beer with someone I knew the guy I was staying with for like I'd known him a couple of months, but like wasn't really like a close friendly friend.
Sure.
And I was just like, I don't want to be here. Just swallow me up.
Yeah. Wow. Did you? So, but so you just stuck it out because
Yeah, I
you
mean, I
didn't
needed a
want to.
place to stay.
Yeah. And was he really into it, like all the landfill indie?
Yeah, he was
Was he?
totally that. Well, it was because that was like the hot property,
Sure.
and I
Yeah.
guess people would call like the modern day equivalent is like hipsters, I guess. But this is like hipster before hipster was a thing.
Yeah.
And you sort of stood around pretending to enjoy your overpriced beer, pretending to enjoy the terrible bands, because it's the in thing to do. This is the right thing. This is cool. And I was just
Yeah.
like, this is rubbish.
£6 feels like a lot for a beer, but I think I've paid £10 for a beer.
Yeah,
Like
it's not the
at
most expensive I've
O2
paid.
Academy or something. Probably something like that. Wow. Well, that's a very memorable gig experience. I really felt like I was there in the moment, holding your cold beer, wanting to go home.
Yeah.
So you're in the Yacht Club, and you've kind of I lost track a little bit. So you put out that album, which name escapes me now, in 2019, which I came to the launch
Yes.
of, I think. And then did you put something out last year, like the beginning of last year, 2020?
No, we were going to do some stuff. Trying to think. No, I think we just had a merch launch. After it was the last words you said to me have kept me here and safe. Long
Yep.
wordy album title.
Yeah.
After that, we lost our bass player, Alex. He left the band, so things were like really uneasy at the time of like what the future held, because Yacht Club for me has always been like the people who are in it as well.
Yeah.
Because I know Jack sings now, and he's sort of come on board and written those songs, but it was very much like a me led project. I think
Sure.
I still have my hands on the wheel in that respect.
Mm.
But it's also been about like my friends. I've known Ali for years and years and years. Jack, obviously one of my best friends, and Alex was as well. I used to live with Alex, and when he left, it was sort of like a big hole had been left in the band, because he had kind of tiptoed in and out of the band for a bit as well, since like
Right.
2015, 2016. Like he had some stuff going on, didn't tell us, but when he told us, we like understood. I just wish we had known what was going on in his life at the time. And then he came back on. We had another guitarist called Sam, who I'm in another project with now, but he left as well. So Jack had to move. So Jack was playing bass to fill in for Alex, and then Alex left. So Jack moved on to guitar when Sam left. So there was a lot of juggling.
Sure. Yeah.
So when that album finally dropped, we then had a period of, we were going to tour, didn't happen for various reasons. People were playing in other bands and stuff like that. We just didn't get the offers.
Yeah.
And we also didn't have a bass player in place, which was mental. And then Tom came on board. So the plan is now, we had an offer in to repress our first EP, the first Yacht Club EP A, onto Lathe Cut, which is coming out in a couple of months, I think.
Who's
Fingers crossed.
putting that out?
Beth Shalom.
Beth
who put
Shalom.
out the
Great.
album.
Yeah.
So they're putting that out, and we've got like an unreleased song from the album demoing days, which I think Tom, the bass player, is going to like add some stuff to. So it's going to be like the first song he's involved in.
Great.
And like spritz it up with some production elements and things like that. But yeah, we didn't drop something in 2020. We really wanted to. We've got like a whole Dropbox full of hundreds of demos. So, well, not hundreds, about 30 or 40. So
Still a lot. Still
yeah.
cool, man. So I'd say I've been aware of you sort of since 2015. Obviously, you talked a lot about already about how kind of in your songwriting, you feel that you feel things, and that's quite like a quite a prominent feature of your writing. I would say is quite personal. And do you have anything other than what we've already talked about that kind of really inspires you to write, or just anything like that? That's not a very good question.
Sorry. I think I'd like to write about things that I probably wouldn't say out loud, and things that maybe are difficult to talk about. So I try and get that out in song form. Songwriting's kind of evolved as time's gone on. Like usually it was very much about the guitars, and then I put words on top, especially for that first Yacht Club EP and the self-titled one. Really hadn't really found my footing as a singer. I still don't think I have, but I just try my best because I feel like I need to do it, which sounds very narcissistic, I know, but it was one of those things where I just feel very like playing guitar and singing and writing songs is a very primal instinct for me. As is performing, I think, as well. Like it's just one of the things that I just feel compelled, like I need to do in my life, and that's what I'm happiest doing. And sort of world feels very much at peace when I'm doing it. Like even if I'm writing about something very, very sad and tragic, it's just like your own sort of form of therapy, if you know what I mean. Sure, it's a lot cheaper.
Sure.
But yeah, like I think the first Yacht Club EP was very like self-confessional, and it was about like a relationship at the time, and you know, as every emo starting album is, I think. It's quite easy to write about. So I wrote about what was going on at the time, and then the self-titled just sort of moved on from that and was more about like growing up and things that were happening in the life, which was not relationship related. I think there was only like one song which was. And the rest was more about like the music industry or growing up sucks or London's not cracked up as it is, you know, made out to be. And then Fall was very different. I think a lot of people don't like that EP, which is fine. But for me, it was just like again, like Alex had gone from the band for a bit. And Sam, who's the guitarist at the time, like he was never like into the math rock thing so much.
Right.
He was always more of like a like Ben Howard-y, Bon Iver style player.
Yeah. So indie finger style. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't so into like American football and TTNG and stuff, which we like shamelessly ripped off. But so I think he wanted to do something a bit more a bit different. And at the time, I was just writing songs to play live. Like they weren't meant to be Yacht Club songs. I didn't think of them as these are Yacht Club songs. They're just like, oh, these are just songs that I'm writing. And then like it just so happened as, oh yeah, we should record this and put it out as the Yacht Club, because you know if I've written them, you know, it was still like a solo thing. So if I've written them, might as well add it to the pile. And they were like, again, songs that I felt like very necessary to write, especially like the last two songs on that EP. Like Be Happy and Love Part 1 and Put Your Life in a Box were just like two big events that happened in my life at the time where I was like, cool, need to get this out, need to write about it.
Yeah.
And that was my way of like dealing with it. So I know people were expecting a very lavish tappy twinkly riff fest, and it was just more like acoustic guitar broody stuff. But I think it's nice we have that out. It was more like we're not going to sound like Pennines, which we've tried to sound like for every release ever, but we're going to try and sound like Owen.
Yeah.
And I like it. I think it's cool. I think the songs are good. And I'm really proud of what happened. So that was like a different way of writing. Instead of like riff, it was more like gonna write the song. And there was a lot of it was word and melody driven first. And then when the album came around, it was a real combination of both. High and Park, the chorus for that I came up with in the shower, just as a vocal melody. And then I built the song around that, you know, after I was singing the melody, picked up the guitar, worked out what the chords were. And I think the defining feature of the album was we wanted someone who couldn't play the songs because they're all in like open tunings, and some of it's quite technical, not to like blow smoke up our ass, but some of them are quite difficult to play.
Yeah,
So
totally. It's
yeah,
totally really
so we
technical.
wanted
Yeah.
someone to be able to pick up the guitar in standard tuning and just play them with chords.
Yeah.
And I think songs like High and Park and In Amber and Be Happy in Love and stuff like that are like definite pick up the guitar and play
Yeah.
type songs. And that's why songs follow like a more verse chorus thing, because at the time, and it still might be, kind of fell out of love with like the math rock scene, especially on the internets. There seemed to be a lot of like bro dick swinging of like, how fast can you play?
Yeah.
Or how many notes can you squeeze into here? And it became
Yeah.
very much about technical ability rather than songs. And that's why I think even with bands like TTNG, like with Animals and American Football, like it's never been about, ironically, it's never been about the technicality for me. It's always been about the song and the emotion and the poignancy of what's coming across.
Yeah.
So that's what I really tried to do on the album, and the songs I struggled with, I couldn't write lyrics for, I gave them to Jack, and Jack really sort of hit the nail on the head with those. So yeah, it was way more about the song than what we could do technically. Although there are moments of flair to keep the listener interested, it was way more about song. And I think going forward, like the new demos we've got going, is again much more about the song, but we've put in those like odd time bits again for a few things. And it's like a different ball game. We're trying to write a bit more collaboratively, instead of just me, like before it was like I do the entire demo and I send it over to everyone.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, here's a guitar stem.
Yeah. What do you think?
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. Where can we find your music? Have you got socials? Like, do you put your music on Spotify, streaming services, etc.? Like, any
everything's
tips?
online. Yeah, so we've got Facebook, Twitter. I use as my personal Twitter, but it's still like at the Yacht Club. Still the band name. It's not my name. On Spotify, on everywhere you'd consume music usually, and on all the socials as well. So just type in, I think it's the Yacht Club TYC on Instagram. The Gmail, if you want to get in touch directly for whatever reason, is jointheyachtclub@gmail.com. And it's on Bandcamp as well. If you want to support us directly, either go to Beth Shalom's one or our personal one. Just find it at theyachtclub.bandcamp.com. And we've got some vinyl for sale. We've got our album, we've got self-titled. We haven't got many of those left. And then we've got some t-shirts, which were designed by Yvette Young, who did our very first t-shirt design as well.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool. Do you know Yvette personally? Is that kind of how that happened?
Kind of internety, but not really as close as other internet friends are. Basically, when the Yacht Club became a full band for the first time, we had a guitarist called Dale, who ran Enjoyment Records. Dale doesn't play music anymore, and he's canned Enjoyment Records, which is a big shame. But he was really good friends with Yvette online.
Yeah.
So when we became a full band and needed merch, he hit her up, and this is like 2014, and she did a t-shirt design for us, which was really wonderful. And then recently, I reached out to her last year and was just like, we're going to reprint the design you designed for us, if that's okay, because it's like the first ever t-shirt design. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, go for it. So I've played some shows with her as well when she come to London as a solo thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, her career and cover is completely taken off, which is, props to her. Really hats off. She puts in loads of effort, and it's really good to see that someone who plays this kind of music is making those waves.
Yeah. And also just to watch her, because she kind of plays like tappy guitar like it's piano, like it's it's like cool. It's like something else from what you kind of would normally expect in a kind of math rock situation. So
yeah, definitely.
Wow, cool. Well, thanks for a little tangent there about Yvette Young.
That's right.
So Marcus, you're gonna play a couple of songs for us. I'm just gonna hop off the screen, and do you want to just introduce songs, play songs, and thank you so much for being here and doing this. I really, really appreciate it. And
That's right.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. All right, this song is called Be Happy in Love Part 2. It's the opening track to our debut album. Hope you like it.
Another year without you here, and the leaves still fall like they always do. Days roll by, no one mentions suicide. Poor mental health, so shrouded into blue, but I still mention you. You're not some bitter word I never want to say. I lay awake, trying to place blame, but I can't blame which doesn't have a cause. And I can't hate you for it, but I can't come to terms with what you did. Remembering the unexpected pause when I got the call. You were always more than 1 in 84. Still I feel the sorrow when I'm walking past your house, and I can hear the summer softly whisper, when will there be an end to sleepless nights staring at the walls again? Will they stop closing in when I've buried too many better men than me? So I pull myself together, repeat things will get better, and then pray for the strength to finally say tomorrow's another day. Barely holding on, and morning brings with it no closure, and leaves me feeling more emotionally in debt to memories of pictures paid in time already spent. the start of the storyboard. We watched our breath dance as frozen thoughts. Adjust the lights and get the dialogue just right. A nervous smile, superimposed. And heavy hearts may weigh less, picture still. Emotion, time-lapse scene, so baffled to see. The frames flickered, the cogs and wheels ceased to turn, and I swear when we touched, the earth moved. And this is no adaptation from the photographs pinned to your wall. Undeveloped Polaroid memories, bittersweet and amplified. The frames flickered, the cogs and wheels ceased to turn, and I swear when we touch, the earth moves. The script was rewritten, all the scenes acted out. The only thing to do was notate the score. I'll go back to Act 1, back to the opening shot, back to the day the earth